resources to pack this racetrack. The pre-race ceremonies that just concluded a few moments ago, they brought out a big stage just like they do for the NASCAR Cup Series, pyrotechnics and a whole bunch of fanfare for this event. A wonderful rendition of the national anthem just before we came on air. They have certainly gone the extra mile to welcome NASCAR's Whelen Modified Tour.
Absolutely, and as you see the pan out, you can see a packed grandstand for this. The word is out. Lancaster is the place to be tonight. And Joe, a very unique racetrack. There are so many different elements to what people are going to see here over this 150-lap race tonight.
This racetrack, you can see, are sitting there on the front straightaway. You see those two strips? That is actually an 1/8-mile drag strip that runs from right to left across your screen. That's that traction compound that they put on, and on top of that, it's concrete. So as you come off the pavement in turn 4, you get that concrete, and it has an odd effect because you've got all that extra grip and you're turning the entire way on the straightaway. This is probably one of the only tracks on the circuit that the teams will tell you, or the drivers will tell you, I have to be good on the straightaway here. It's that tricky and treacherous.
And there are two distinct straightaways. You have the compound on the front straightaway, and then on the back stretch, a completely different setup too. But the transition to come from the front straightaway into turn 1, we've seen that in the last time the Whelen Modified Tour was at Lancaster in 2021. A lot of green flag racing to start, but as the temperatures cooled down, things got a little clammy in turn number 1 with multiple caution flags.
Yeah, that was the trend of the last time that we raced here, which was actually 2 years ago. We'll see whether or not that trend continues. Really soft tires on these modifieds, and that means they've got the opportunity to come down and take tires throughout this race on a newly pit road here. So there's a bunch of different things, but I think you're right. Getting off that straightaway, that drag strip, and down into turn number 1, where that goes from concrete to then the pavement again, the regular asphalt, is one of the tricky spots, and that's where you got to be good.
And they aren't really going into a banked corner. The banking was 6 degrees, 9 degrees, so you're basically going right from the drag strip to a flat surface, much like, say, a Riverhead that we saw a few weeks ago. So drivers who are certainly fast there look to be strong here tonight as the field rolls off. Headed by Justin Bonsignor, who in 10 races has scored 4 pole position. What an amazing stat. Yeah,
he's been on fire for sure here this year. Hey, let's take a look at the starting lineup for tonight's New Way Auto Parts 150 for the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. Runner-up here in 2021, Justin Bonsignor with his 4th pole of the season. Matt Hirschman, 2 wins this year, will start along the front row. Austin Beers, he's the Richmond winner. And Chuck Hosfeld, 7-time series winner, makes his first start this season. Doug could be a 6-time Whelen Modified Tour champion. And one of the local drivers, Tyler Ripkema, from nearby Owego, New York, starts 6th. Brian Narducci back in the 3-car off 7th. Tommy Catalano will start alongside. Ronnie Silk starting 9th tonight alongside Max McLaughlin, making his 3rd start of the season. Go back outside the top 10. Anthony Cecily starts 11th. Anthony Nocella alongside Kyle Bonsignor. Really a strong run for him. And Mike Leedy, who was a last-minute add to today's race. We'll talk more about that later. Kyle Ebersol, Tim Conley, Ken Hagee, Gary McDonald, Tommy Wannick, and Melissa Fifield round out the starting lineup for tonight's New Way Auto Part 150.
What a great initial start this is setting up to be. You have Matt Hirschman, who despite missing 2 races, still in standings. Number 2 in lap led, so Money Matt, is certainly going to be out there and jumping on the start. Justin Bonsignor came within a half car length of winning this race 2 years ago. Had to come after a late race pit stop to charge the field for the driver who ended up beating not in the field tonight in Patrick Emmerling.
Emmerling is focused on his NASCAR Xfinity Series program, a car and team that he owns. That is why Mike Leedy, who works on Emmerling car normally, is in the field today in the number 25 car, and so we'll keep an eye on that, another team that's got a lot of experience here at this racetrack. But a beautiful sight, see the modifieds rolling, very unique racetrack. You're going to have to take a look at all the different aspects of this track. Let's hear from our pole winner before we go green. Here's Jesse Punch with Justin Bonsignor.
Coming off a win last race at Loudon, starting on the pole here tonight, Justin Bonsignor. Justin, the last time the mods were here, you finished runner-up in that race. How confident are you now, knowing what you've brought with you tonight, that you can finish one spot better?
Yeah, I think we got a really good car today. We practiced well. Was a little shocked we got the pole. I didn't think the lap was going to be all that great, but good enough for the pole. So we got track position. Hopefully we can lead some laps, get some bonus points with that, and just control the race and control when everybody pits. So we should have probably won the race here last year, or last time we were here. Just kind of put ourselves too far back late after our pit stop and had to charge back through. So we know we have a good car here. We just got to be smart with everything tonight, have a good pit stop, and hopefully be there at the end.
Thanks, Justin. Good luck tonight.
Thank you.
That's Justin Bonsignor starting on the pole for the 4th time this season.
And you looked at that pole-winning run. One thing I noticed that he did, he swung up from turn 4 and ran right against the wall. That's, of course, a fast groove. It was enough for the pole, but there are other grooves on the racetrack that other drivers might take advantage of here tonight.
This is a racetrack where you can run too wide. It's a 2-groove track, so if you've got a fast car, you can certainly slice and dice your way through the field and make up ground. There is Justin Bonsignor as the field rolls through turns 3 and 4, about ready to turn him loose here in front of a packed grandstand at Lancaster Motorplex. Pace car is in and the green flag is out in the new Whelen Auto Parts 150.
Hear that thunder down the back straightaway, and from the inside to lead lap number 1, Justin Bonsignor puts the number 51 up in front as they head back into turn number 1, single file.
Matt Hirschman, car 60, settles in to the 2nd spot. The 64 off the here, there leads the race leader, and the gap back outside the top 5. All very experienced drivers in there, and Austin Pierce, who may not necessarily be the most experienced Whelen modified tour driver among them, is very good at this racetrack. He spent a lot of time with his dad, Eric, working modified. So modified at this racetrack in other divisions, and he's got a lot of experience here.
One driver who is not in the picture, we talk about the big 3 this year with Justin Bonsignor, also Doug Roby and Ronnie Silk. Silk qualified in 9th, now still inside the top 10, but as a front runner and certainly the point leader coming into tonight's event, a driver who qualified 9th, that is a story in its own right, qualifying mid-pack.
We'll see if they can get that car rolling a little bit faster in race trim. You see the 14 car on screen? That is Chuck Hosfeld. Chuck Hosfeld has the opportunity to run this event for Joe Stearns and this team out of Ransomville, New York, not far from here. And he's very optimistic and said anything shy of a top 5 finish tonight would be a disappointment for him in that 14 team.
Car number 7 rides right behind him for Doug Coby. Last time out for the Whelen Modified Tour, that car was driven by John McKennedy, who led 89 laps of this race. And a car that obviously didn't end up in victory lane, but certainly the Tommy Baldwin number 7 fast around here tonight. Doug Coby behind the wheel.
Tommy Baldwin, who earlier this week had the opportunity to participate in NASCAR's Hall of Fame voting process, where saw Chad Knaus, Jimmy Johnson, and Doug Galson all inducted into NASCAR's Hall of Fame, an opportunity that Tommy Baldwin takes obviously very, very seriously, but his impact in NASCAR and in modified racing continues on as one of the national voices participating here in tour races.
As you look up through the field, and actually behind Doug Coby is a driver that, if you're looking for a dark horse tonight, and as we talk about the 3 this year, one driver that could potentially break through is Tyler Rickma in car number 32. He has only 2 top 10 this year, both at Riverhead, but fresh off a strong run last time out in Loudon, where he was catching the draft on his own. Very fast race car here tonight. He was strong the last time the tour was at Lancaster.
They've decided to bring out a brand new race car. This is a car he actually bought from Connie Partridge, late Eddie Partridge's wife. They went through, they put the whole car back together. They ran it at New Smyrna following the Whelen Modified Tour event as part of Speed Weeks at New Smyrna, and got this car in shape for here this weekend. And he was one of the drivers that came over and spent some time with Mike Myers and the entire team and checked out some of the work that they have done in advance of this Whelen Modified Tour event. But Tyler Ripkema has been having really good runs here this season. And earlier this season, he told me, I just need to get to racetracks that I'm familiar with, that I know. And if I do that, then I think we're ready to have a lot of success. But going to these tracks for the first time has been really difficult for us in the family team.
You really feel that with only one race under their belts as the Whelen Modified Tour in modern times, he really feels he is on the level playing field, or a much more level playing field with the rest of the pack. And the results are showing too. An average finish of outside the top 10, 12.1, looking to increase that as they go around Melissa Fifield in the number 1. Justin Bonsignor breaks wide, and here comes Matt Hirschman down to the inside.
Cannot give Matt Hirschman an ounce of room on the racetrack. This time he is forced high to work around Melissa Fifield, and that allows Austin Beers to close in a little bit. But look at Matt Hirschman. He's on the hunt, got a good drive off turn number 4, tries to pull to the bottom, but you watch that apex at the exit of turn 2 where the radius of the turn tightens up a little bit. He just couldn't keep his nose underneath.
He'll look down to the inside. This time, Bonsignor runs a much lower line and will protect the inside drag strip as they work their way down the front straightaway. It's still the 51, and hanging tough is Austin Beers in the number 64.
Justin Bonsignor said one of the things that we were weaker with at the beginning of the year is we were not controlling the race and dictating it the way we wanted to be. We'd qualify a little bit deeper, even though he's got 4 poles. He wanted to go out and lead laps tonight, show that he had tremendous strength, and dictate what everybody else did. And I think that's why he's being pretty aggressive here in the early phases and protecting that lead over Matt Hirschman and not allowing Matt to run out and hide. Because as we saw at several tracks this year, Lee and Seekonk in particular, you let Matt Hirschman loose, and he is hard to reel back in.
He rides in second right now, and Bonsignor, as you mentioned, going out leading some laps, hoping to get some bonus points. You heard the interview early on, and he comes into the event only 8 points behind Ronnie Silk, who again qualified 9th, and there might be some strategy there by not running inside, say, qualifying inside the top 2 rows.
Tommy Catalano continuing to work on the back bumper of Tyler Ripkema, another driver who calls Western New York his home, looking to the inside of the back straightaway. And Catalano will send it down in there. You see that new pavement on the bottom. That's a new pit road that they did for the race this year. And I was told that they would use that like the bottom shot, getting down in the bottom of turn 3. And Tommy Catalano, the first that we've seen in the broadcast so far to use it, but I think Matt Hirschman might try it out too.
Yeah, he puts both left tires down to the inside, and they are 2x2 as they work their way off of turn number 4. New leader Matt Hirschman in turn number 1.
So Hirschman to the lead here, 21 laps into the New Way Auto Parts 150, the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour at Lancaster Speedway.
Austin Beers rides in third, locked onto the back bumper of Justin Bonsignor. Justin is still solid in that line. Might just be a tick off. I'm not sure if the handling's going away, but it looks like Beers has a faster race car as they work their way off of turn number 2. And to your point, Joe, Matt gets out in front, and Hirschman is 3 and make that 4 car lengths in the lead already off of 4.
Last time off turn 2, I saw Hirschman running a bit of a higher exit. Watch how Bonsignor is protecting the bottom. He's running the inside lane, but this is a 2-lane racetrack, and Austin Beers knows that, and he saw what Matt Hirschman can do, and he's taking a look at the outside through turns 1 and 2. Now in turns 3 and 4, follows in the tire tracks of Justin Bonsignor.
In 2021, John McKennedy led the majority of the first half of this race, running on the bottom side. It's only when he moved up the racetrack about 12, 18 inches is when he started to run into trouble. So Bonsignor still fine as far as the handle goes on the race car. Looking for a little speed, though, off of turn number 4 as Beers is right on the back bumper.
Beers in the tire track, this time into turn number 1. See the lap traffic up ahead that the race leader Matt Hirschman will have here in a couple of moments. As they go back into turn 3, you see the closing rate for Beers much better on entry at the beginning of turn 3, but lap traffic will prevent his progress.
Car number 3, Brian Narducci, having another start in the old blue car, and every time he's been out in that race car this year, they've been ultra fast, running in the top 5 in Richmond for a number of laps, and good to see the number 3 up inside the top 10 here tonight thus far.
Yeah, really good run for Brian Narducci. Not a lot of experience on tracks like this, and so that's a good start for him as he continues to move forward. Narducci in the 3, and you watched the battle between Justin Bonsignor and the 64 of Austin Beers, and all of a sudden things start to tighten up a little bit. Chuck Hosfeld in the 14. You've got the 7 New York of Doug Coby, and Tommy Catalano starting to make waves as well. He's moved into the 6th position after he got by Ripkema.
Right behind them is the car number 77 for Mad Max McLaughlin. McLaughlin in car 77, you see him on your screen going to the outside with Ron Silk in tow. They go around the lap number 26. Last time out, he sat on the outside pole last time out at this racetrack, and finished inside the top 3. This is a home race for these drivers, so good to see 77 Max McLaughlin behind the wheel tonight.
At the start of the broadcast, we talked about the 16 car of Ronnie Silk. He's a championship point leader, but he qualified back in the 9th position. And that was, I think, a strategy call that worked for them at the Wall Stadium. They qualified deep in the field there, and they wanted to focus their efforts not on a qualifying lap, but a decent qualifying lap and build more towards long race speed. Ronnie Silk, 30 laps in, has not progressed, currently sitting back in the 9th position. That's exactly where he started. It's still early, but just something to take note of as we get underway.
Doug Kobe continues to run in position number 5. That car led about half of this race 2 years ago with a different driver. It's right in front of Catalano as they work their way back into turn number 1, but it is all Matt Hirschman. Hirschman up in front by about 5 car lengths. Then it's Austin Beers, and now you focus in on Kobe in the 7 New York, right behind Hosfeld in the 14. Something tells me Hosfeld, he is extremely, or has been extremely smooth the first 34 laps of this race. Just kind of picking and choosing. Actually, swings wide a little bit as I say that. Wouldn't be surprised to see Hosfeld letting the race come to him as we progress here through the first half of the event. But he has a mirror full of Kobe off of turn number 4.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. And Chuck Hosfeld was really focused on being smart in this race. Very experienced in NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour competition. 7-time winner, but the last time he won was 2008. He had stepped away to focus on RV business, his car dealership, and a small wedding venue that they have not far from here on their homestead here in Western New York. He knows how to run with these guys, and he's very well respected in modified racing, but he also knows that he doesn't do this every week. And he said, I've got to be smart, I've got to be aware of what's going on around me and have a good, clean pit stop, save my stuff for the end, and when it counts, then I'm going to use everything I've got left out of that 14 car.
He is certainly relying on a lot of his old bag of tricks right now. Car number 14 holding off one of the strongest competitors. One of the big 3 this year of Doug Kobe now opens up a nice 2-car length gap on him, and that's the 14. You miss a day, you miss a lot. And you go off and you focus on, other ventures within your life. You come back to it when you wait for the muscle memory to come back. It might take half the race or so, but as long as it's the second half of the race where it comes back to you, then that's going to pay dividends for car 14. So 3 cars running nose to tail here on lap number 38 as they cross the stripe.
This is the battle for 4th, 5th, and 6th. Chuck Hosfeld holding on to 4th. Here's Kobe now, seeing if he can find a lane to the inside as they work down the back straightaway and back into turn 3, but not willing to press the issue just yet. And Tommy Catalano continuing to stay with these guys. He's running very quick lap times that equal them. He'll take a step to the outside lane to see if there's any room up there to the outside. Kobe?
As they go around Melissa Fifield in the 0-1, Hosfeld holds onto it. They go back into turn number 3, and there's Doug Kobe, who narrowly was in that major, that wild finish at Loudon last time out. And, a lot has been talked about the 3 drivers really chasing the championship this year, and the fact that, they'll get into each other. They'll rub, but they will do it respectfully. It's interesting to see what happens on the racetrack versus I'm not saying you're fishing for sound bites and whatnot. These drivers certainly don't do that. But if you read between the lines a little bit, you can hear some of the chirpiness and say Justin Bonsignor saying, well, I'm really glad that Ronnie Silk backed off on that one. Maybe he's paying me back for Wall Stadium. He wasn't calling Ron out, but he's saying, in the back of my mind, I know what happened the weeks prior, and I'm glad that I was raced that way. You saw both of those drivers congratulate Justin in victory lane and that great finish that really could have gone to anybody on the last lap.
I think there's a healthy undertone of respect and rivalry among those 3 champions, Justin Bonsignor, Ron Silk, and Doug Kobe. And I think that battle, at some point in time, it's going to boil over, and that's just going to be part of the sport. And it'll happen.
Yeah.
We're just a little bit past halfway right now in the season, and all these guys know that they cannot give up any ground, because as soon as you do, somebody else is going to be right there to take an advantage. Here comes Kobe now. He's got that good run off turn number 4, finds a window of room down to the bottom of Chuck Hosfeld, and let's see if he can get it done.
Is side-by-side off of turn number 2 and rocketing down the back straightaway at the Tommy Baldwin number 7, rolls into spot number 4. So again, 10 championships, series championships between those three drivers, and I think getting back to the level of respect, they've been there, done that. This isn't their first rodeo. They know that they're going to be racing around those other drivers all year long based on their performance. But still, whether you're watching Wall, whether you're watching Riverhead, and watching these drivers just beat the daylights out of each other, but yet keep it straight. You're like, well, this is going to be the week. This is where it is. They've run cool here for a couple of weeks, but no, this is where the gloves come off. But no, every single week, if they do get into each other, they let each other straighten it out. And again, it comes back to the years of racing around each other and the respect that goes along. But in these hot summer weeks, that's got to boil over at some point this summer.
Give all a reason to continue tuning in and watching the action here. The New Way Auto Parts 150 from Lancaster Speedway out in front. Matt Hirschman leading the way. A great battle right here. Tommy Catalano trying to move inside the top 5, working to the inside of turn 1 of Chuck Hosfeld. He's got Tim Conley, the yellow number 4. Lapped automobile up ahead wasn't a factor, but Tommy Catalano now moving inside the top 5 and picking up another spot.
Well, look who's coming into your picture right behind Hosfeld, the silver and red number 16. There is Ronnie Silk. He is up to 7th.
So we talked about how he started back in 9th and was very quiet, but now just shy of 50 laps in the 1/3 mark of tonight's race. And Ronnie Silk has got a long run race car that is starting to come to life. You saw the 14 car of Hosfeld wobble a little bit coming up off turn number 4, and that allowed Silk to close right to the back bumper.
That is just so smart on the 16 team's part too, because if they go back and they look at, because they are building the notebook of Lancaster, they only have one race, that was 2021, and it ran for about 70-75% green flag, long green flag run like we've seen here in the first 51 laps of this one. So if this race is going to be anything like the last one, it's smart to not necessarily go up there and run the money lap and get the pole, let the race come to you. You're seeing that in Ronnie Silk's move. This year, as you've said, Joe, racing with fire in his eyes. He already has a championship. He, again, has been there, done that. But I think people have seen Ronnie Silk race a little differently this year with a little more intensity than he's had in the past, and certainly paying dividends as your point leader. He's led the points for the majority of the season.
He's a very focused individual, but this year he has been really locked in, and you can see it in his presence out of the race car in the pit area, and certainly what he does holding that steering wheel on track. He is carving his way through the field. He's closed up on the back bumper of the 6th place car now, Chuck Hosfeld, and he's running lap times that are just as efficient, about 5 seconds behind the race leader, Matt Hirschman, but that car really coming to life. And although we had a real long green flag run in the one race we had here 2 years ago for the Whelen Modified Tour, at the end, it was a bunch of little short runs because there was a lot of cautions at the end. And so having a good long run car, well, that might get you in position now. But I think the crew chiefs have in the back of their mind that this could be a track where there is a ton of short 1, 2, 3 lap runs towards the finish of that one. So we'll keep an eye on that.
2 years ago, Justin Bonsignor was up inside the top 3. There was one of those late race cautions. It came out with 22 or 23 laps to go. He had a miscue on the crew's part, which knocked him back, I believe, to the 6th or 7th position, and he had to charge to get back to where it was. Almost picked up the win over Emmerling. Emmerling, of course, was the victor 2 years ago. But again, to your point, with those late race caution flags, have a late race pit stop with that reconfigured pit road. I wonder that plays into the strategy for tonight's race.
Here's Silk looking inside. Hosfeld thought better of it. Right behind them, Brian Narducci. Oh, Silk out of shape to the bottom of turn 4. Ropes it back in, and Hosfeld's able to open things up a little bit. That's where the transition that we were talking about earlier got the left front just about on the grass. Maybe it just went a little bit too far for Silk.
He's bringing Brian Narducci with him, too, and if you're going to follow in the tire tracks of somebody, Ronnie Silk is a really good customer to do so. There's Kyle Bonsignor in car number 22 right behind. He has had a, I wouldn't say down day, but certainly not the level of performance that we've seen out of that race car this year. Again, letting the race come to him. He's right behind. Well, going to go race with Narducci now as they both trail Silk and Hosfeld through turns number 3 and 4.
Yeah, good battle here as we keep an eye on this. Narducci running 8th, Kyle Bonsignor running 9th. Here's Tommy Catalano picking up another spot underneath Doug Kobe. That'll move him inside the top 4. So Catalano continues to march forward in that 54. The family operation decided to step back.